3% pay rise for teachers to be paid over 6 fortnights. Angore leaders say arson was isolated case. And Police Association calls on leaders to leave police out of politics.
This is National MTV News with Meriba Tulo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us. This is Wednesday's news. Over 56,000 teachers under the 2017 to 2019 salary fixation agreement will be paid a 3% pay rise in 6 fortnights starting today. This comes after a joint announcement by the Teaching Services Commission and the Papua New Guinea Teachers Association in Port Moresby today.
Teachers around Papua New Guinea can now rest assured knowing their next fortnight pay will be paid in a little higher than their normal fortnight salary, backdated to January last year. The decision on implementation of the deferred salary was made following a National Executive Council meeting in April. Chairman of the Teaching Service Commission, Baron Sori, said the deferred agreed salary allowance for the 2017 will be implemented in 6 fortnights as of pay 13, which is today, to pay 18th.
Should accept and humbly accept this agreement and implementation of the salary increases starting this week.
Teachers will be backdated from 1st of January 2017 to 28th of June 2018, which will be paid in quarter sum.
In the next 6 fortnights, the outstanding of 2017 and 2018 should be delivered from pay number 19 onwards up to pay 26. The normal cycle of pay and the increases will be captured for teachers throughout the country.
Chairman Sori said the first quarter payment of 2017, dated 1st January to 31st March, will be paid on 31st August 2018. Second quarter of 2017, dated 1st April to 30th June, will follow on 17th August 2018. The third quarter of 2017, dated 1st July to 30th September payment will be made on 3rd August 2018. Fourth quarter 2017, dated 1st October to 31st December is scheduled on 28th July 2018. While the first quarter payment of 2018, dated 1st January to 30th March, kicks in on 6th July, and second quarter of 2018, dated 1st April to June 28th, will be paid by this Friday, 22nd of June.
The money paid out to, but teachers may know it's a false thinking that, oh, because this big amount of money is paid, I will also get a big amount. But the share will rely on the salary levels.
Chairman Sori says teachers who have retired or resigned by the end of 2017 academic year are also captured in the agreement, and thanked the Education Minister Nick Kuman for standing behind teachers in pushing the agreement. Union Secretary Ugwalubu Moana thanked the government for honoring the agreement signed in 2016, despite the country being ridden by disasters and having cash flow issues. Shane Soroya, National MTV News.
Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was in Mendi this morning in an attempt to put to rest speculation over his ability to solve days of unrest following a court decision last week. A statement from the Prime Minister's office explained that after several days of unrest in Mendi, followed by the PM working with parties to restore calm, Mr. O'Neill had felt it was important that he address the people directly. The Prime Minister called on the people in the province to let appointed authorities do their work and reassured them that he had listened to their concerns regarding the conduct of the election for the province's regional seat, and that he had spoken to the province's leaders and that he would see to it that questions were answered. The incident in Southern Highlands is not a police matter, but rather one created out of political affiliations that turned chaotic. President of the Police Association, Lower Tambua, said the crisis was started by supporters of politicians. However, policemen will have to tread carefully to ensure normalcy is returned to Mendi.
Recent incident in Mendi, instigated by disgruntled supporters of politicians, is tarnishing the good name of police personnel, says President of Police Association Lower Tambua. He described it as outrageous and irrational and is calling for political leaders to show leadership.
The mayhem that is unfolded in Southern Highlands and Ella, and is unfolding in Southern Highlands and Ella, is not a police-related matter. Let's get that on record. It's a politically related matter. Police did not create this. People hungry for power has created this mess.
While national security is important, he is urging police personnel to take a holistic approach to safeguard the people.
Some gun where people police do no guard. Soldier do or no guard. Those sophisticated machine guns, it's a frightening sight really to see. Now for simple people, simple Southern Highlanders, I don't think they can afford these machine guns.
Vice President Lud Dinans says guns used by the supporters of the politicians should not be in their possession.
We don't want to lose any more lives. That is the point. Our hard-working security forces are already on the ground. They are outnumbered already. Even the weapons that are being issued are not to the standard of which our local people have on the ground. And this is our concern. We are very, very concerned about our men on the ground at the moment.
General Secretary Clemens Kanau also raised concern on police allowance and insurance, saying meetings with Deputy Prime Minister Charles Abel were not forthcoming.
Every policeman and woman have not been paid some form of allowances since 2004. Especially insurance has been outstanding for 4 years. It amounts to 7 million kina. 7 million kina, and you cannot pay. Police union have raised this matter with the Deputy Prime Minister. None of any indication whatsoever about time frame of when this insurance will have to be paid.
President Loa Tambua says the government currently owes 7 million outstanding to police officers in the country, including those that have passed away.
And every time we go to Waigani, it falls on deaf ears. The ignorance of the government, the ignorance of certain members who are responsible for doing what is right, are not even paying our policemen and women their allowances. Now, certain indicators are that, this letter all, there are more uprisings yet to come. We cannot hide the fact.
Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
A Catholic priest from Nuku in the West Epic province has been praying every day for Papua New Guinea from the Holy Land. Father Hugh Kwam, who has been in Israel for 2 months, is serving at the Emancipation Church in Nazareth, where he presides over English language services and confessions. MTV journalist Adelaide Sirks-Curry, who is part of an official Pacific media delegation to Israel, met Father Hugh, who will be in Nazareth until he returns to PNG in October. Father Hugh is a parish priest at what is Parish Nuku in West Epic. He had since been praying for PNG every day since he heard news of the tensions and riots in Southern Highlands province. Chairman of the Angore Leadership Committee, John Akipe, says the burning of machines at Angore is an isolated incident. Mr. Akipe says the incident is not related to tensions in Mendi, but grievances over a security project payment worth 35 million kina. Chairman Akipe says other wellheads in Angore are now under the custody of landowners.
These pictures were posted on social media yesterday. Heavy machinery at a campsite in Angore being set alight by angry landowners. Speaking in Port Moresby this afternoon, Chairman of the Angore Leadership Committee says the incident is not related to election violence in Southern Highlands.
We have given our undertaking that we will protect this wellhead in perpetuity. I want the government to know, and I want the ExxonMobil to know, that this wellhead at the Angora PDL8 are guaranteed safety by the Angora Wellhead Leadership Committee and the communities at the wellhead in perpetuity.
Chairman Akipe says through the Leadership Committee, a resolution has been passed to protect all wellheads in Wellped A and B. Akipe says only a minority group is taking violent actions to draw government attention.
You have some rights in law to request for something for yourself because you're in the 9 by 9 kilometers. But that does not give you significant right or more rights over those communities living close to the footprint of the PNG LNG project.
With the government signing instruments to complete clan vetting in gas project areas in Hela, Mr. Akipe says no payments will be made until the completion of the exercise.
For now, any destruction, there is no justification for any payment at all. One, as I said, the gas is not flowing. Number two, ILDs are not completed. How do we know that you are the right person to get the money?
Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Former Hela Governor Francis Potape has condemned the burning of machines at the project site in Angore. Mr. Potape appealed to landowners to unite and seek government's attention in a proper manner. He also appealed to provincial and local leaders to be at the forefront and address outstanding issues.
The people will not burn down machines, will not burn down trees, will not burn down bridges, will not do what they did, because the leaders are there. Leaders, it is our job to mediate between the national government and the landowners. It is our job. That is what late Governor Agiru and myself have been doing in Hela province for the LNG project to be up and running to this day.
This is National EMTV News. We go for a break and be back with more of the day's stories after these messages. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National EMTV News. All Koyari landowner groups have formed one voice to present a submission for government to consider outstanding issues. They say the ministerial committee handling landowner matters has been quiet and are showing no urgency to deal with these issues. Leaders presented a final petition to Cairo Kuhiri MP Peter Isoaimo to bring to cabinet.
Koyari leaders from different areas met this morning to make their intentions known to the government. After 3 months of an elapsed petition received by government, the leaders have formed one voice to formulate a cabinet submission.
We've all come as one big unit together. We've actually mobilized. We've now come to our senses that shutting it for piecemeal deals have to end. If we have to close it the next time, it has to be forever.
They now want all issues of Koyari land owners be solved and addressed by government urgently. They also do not agree with the proposed merger between Etherano and Water PNG. They say the ministerial committee formed to address Koyari issues has showed no urgency.
And our aim today is we don't want merger. There's no merger in Etherano. We want the current board to be reinstated with the management. And if we take over Etherano, they will continue to work for us. We will look after them and we look after communities. That's what we are going to do.
Karaku Iri MP Peter Isoaimo was present to hear the concerns of the landowner groups. He says he has been knocking on the doors of government for outstanding issues of Koyari people.
I think their demand now is that water be treated like any other resource, like the gas and oil and everything else in this country. And if there are legislations that are impediment to the landowner demands, well, we as a government, as policy makers and lawmakers, need to address that issue.
The group will now put together a submission for NEC to consider. They say this will be a last attempt or see no water sourced from the area into the city. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
Madang Governor Peter Yama says the internal investigation into the Madang provincial government has taken several months to complete, and police have now carried out arrests, saying those offences are serious indictable offences. Yama says the offences are in relation to the non-compliance of the Public Finance Management Act, misappropriation and official corruption.
Madang Governor Peter Yama says some of the offences are related to misappropriation of funds amounting to millions of kina. He said a lot of public servants are likely to be arrested and charged on a lot of charges.
And there's also likelihood of conspiracy to defraud state funds. So there's a lot of areas of charges likely to be given to a lot of people. So there are public servants and people in the system. And all the contractors who had job have got the money and they walked away. They have not done the job. So it's like not one person's doing it. It's both parties agree to do what they have done. And if the contractor has done the job, and if there was a shortfall or it was a variation in the contract, that's understandable. And if the government is not favor the balance of the amount of the money, but this is not the case. You see, you just pay them the money in full amount, and they've got the money and they haven't provided the service. So it's It's clearly, it's fraud.
The governor says the investigation would also reveal other persons involved in misusing hundreds of thousands of provincial government money, saying this is money clearly allocated for contract funding and are not supposed to be cashed out. Mr. Yama says there are a number of people involved in these offences and they will be identified and dealt with by law. Police are continuing investigation.
Police will look into those, and I can't speak for them. But from what I've got the report before me, from the Loma and attorney, and from the audit people, it's very serious. They are serious. And
the governor's remarks followed the arrest of 3 former public servants in Madang a week ago. The 3 are former Provincial Administrator Daniel Aloy, Provincial Finance Director Dick Moiga, and the Provincial Legal Officer Godwin Haumu. They were arrested and charged over 2 counts for misappropriating 400,000 kina and official corruption. They appeared for their first mention at the Madang District Court last Thursday. Martha Lewis, National EMTV News, Madang.
30,000 cases of tuberculosis have been reported annually since 2008, with the National Capital District reporting the highest number of TB cases notification rate. This is according to Business for Health PNG, a non-profit organization that supports a number of health programs, especially in the cases of tuberculosis and HIV in country, by providing workplace health advocacy and training. The organization was presented 50,000 kina by South Pacific Brewery to help support their drive in promoting health services within the private sector.
Business for Health is a non-profit organization managed by a committee of business and donor leaders. The organization provides workplace health advocacy, policy and workplace TB training services in coordination with all levels of the PNG National TB program.
We were very concerned about HIV when we were having 3,000 and 4,000 new cases each year. So the problem of tuberculosis is 10 times greater than HIV was. So we operate calling ourselves Businesses for Health because TB is such a broad health issue.
Cases from 10 other provinces make up most of the TB cases. Business for Health is designed to mitigate the impact of TB and HIV epidemics in the private sector and updates the work of the Business Coalition against HIV and AIDS.
Tuberculosis, drug-resistant tuberculosis and HIV-TB co-infection kills more people from infectious diseases than any other infectious disease cause here in Papua New Guinea. So the issue is serious and widespread.
In supporting Business for Health with their health programs and activities, South Pacific Brewery were happy to provide the 50,000 kina funding.
For us to support the wonderful work and the wonderful programs that Business for Health does in the community, particularly in the areas of tuberculosis and HIV treatment. I think they've got some fantastic programs going on in their organization. Like SB Brewery, we have a real passion, we have a real desire to support these types of organizations that actually really do effect positive changes in the community and our people out there in Papua New Guinea.
Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
The PNG Timber Legality Verification System workshop, organized by the PNG Forest Authority, began today. Over 50 participants from NCD and other provinces within the forestry sector gathered for this 2-day national dialogue. PNGFA Managing Director Tuno Sabwin says this is a very important workshop which will have an impact on the international level.
With a clear indication from the government to improve law enforcement and forest sector governance, the dialogues exchanged will focus on providing the necessary resource to those in charge of timber legality verification systems.
2 days is that we'll come up with some ideas on how that system will work to prove that timber coming out from Papua New Guinea is legal.
PNGFA Managing Director Tuno Sabwin mentioned that although the forest sector is highly regulated, PNG's timber legality when exported is questioned by some international communities.
Are still thinking otherwise. They're still thinking that we are not trading our timber legally. We are not harvesting our timber legally.
For that reason, this workshop is vital for the TLVS development process, as PNG is yet to fully develop and document generative objective assessment and conclusion of legal status.
All these criticisms that are coming in terms of how we manage our resources, but we have to take it on a very positive manner.
European Union, a strong partner, commended the government for the decision and is looking forward to the debates and dialogue that will be generated through this workshop.
Is very much interested in the sustainable harvesting and exploitation of all natural resources, particularly forests.
PNGFA hopes to launch the TLVS development process tomorrow. Lilian Sopera-Kinea, National EMTV News.
19 police supervisors of the Leh Metropolitan Command and the Provincial Command are undergoing 3-week training on leadership and supervision in Leh. The Chief Inspector, Paul Bai, says as a disciplinary force, police officers have to be orderly and perform according to RPNGC standards. The Chief Inspector says the officers have to be neutral and ethical during their operational duties.
The training targets these senior police officers to be trained as frontline supervisors during their operational duties. The Chief Inspector, Paul Bai, says there is currently a lack of supervision by the officers. The training will help improve their supervision qualities when these officers are out performing their duties. As the frontline supervisors, they will have to have the skills to lead and instruct the team during the operations.
This sort of training should be implemented throughout the country, so that it can be extended out to other provinces and regions as well, so that we all have the same knowledge and skills on how to supervise and lead and manage.
Supervision and discipline are important and required by the disciplinary organizations. The Chief Inspector says police officers must be neutral and make sure they are orderly when performing their duties. Mr. Bai said such trainings will also help discourage officers from being regionalized and behave in an ill-disciplined manner.
If they're going constantly doing the same thing, then they are undisciplined in a way of disciplinary offenses, and they are charged and penalized.
These frontline leadership and supervision training of these police supervisors began last week and will end next week Friday. 19 senior officers of the Leh Metropolitan Command and Morbe Provincial Command have participated. Senior Constable Mission Sibong from the Sexual Offence Squad Unit of the Leh Metropolitan Command is one of these participants.
I see through this course I've seen where Bamisana Blongema to assist my subordinates to boost them or motivate them so that I can be an example to them.
To this rank, which I haven't touched some of the areas where I'm supposed to cover in leadership and communication skills and leadership skills. And I'm pretty sure that whatever I learned here is much helpful to my duty as an OIC.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Leh.
The Registrar of Political Parties, Dr. Alphonse Gelu, says parties that have been inactive for a long period could be deregistered if they do not perform. These include parties that did not nominate candidates in the last national general elections.
Dr. Alphonse Gelu says, according to records, there are several parties that have been inactive. These are smaller parties that could get deregistered if they do not comply with requirements. Although there aren't any penalties, there are provisions in the revised organic law that will address this.
But what we have done is that in the revised organic law, we've put in provisions
that for political parties who do not endorse any candidates in any election, will be deregistered. So, for us, we have to be tough on this.
Papua New Guinea has 45 registered political parties. In the 2017 national general elections, 5 of these parties did not endorse any candidates. This is according to findings presented by the Registry of Political Parties in late today at the Seminar for Political Parties Executives.
You establish political parties to contest elections, to try and win seats and be represented in parliament. If you form a party and you don't do anything, then what is the use of having a party?
Out of the 40 parties that contested the elections, 21 got elected into parliament. Political parties have to do more awareness in order to be voted into parliament, something he says is lacking.
And the main reason for that is because people don't know about them. People don't know about their history, they don't know about their leadership, they don't even know about their policies.
The PNG Registry of Political Parties, in partnership with the United Nations Development Programme, will be hosting a political party expo at the Ser Ignatius Kilage Stadium in late tomorrow and on Friday to promote and strengthen political parties.
The aim is to talk to them, but most importantly is for our people to become members of political parties.
Lucy Kopana, National, MTV News, Leh.
A young couple from East Sepik province were rescued by fishermen in Tanamera Bay, west of Jayapura, last weekend. Orinauk, aged 27, and his pregnant wife, Greatale Sausan Bandu, 19, were traveling from Koil Island, East Sepik province, to Wewak when they ran out of fuel and drifted for 8 days with only dry sago for food. The woman, Greatale, unfortunately lost her unborn child during the ordeal. The couple has been generously assisted by Indonesian officials and is now under the care of the PNG Consulate in Jayapura. In a telephone interview, PNG Consul General Jeffrey Wiri gave a brief update on their situation.
The husband had his feet eaten by fish when it was in the water for a few days. Unfortunately, the wife, I think, lost her child. She is still inside the belly, dead. So they are also trying to remove the body from the mother now, and she's in hospital. We're working to get at least the baby's body buried here in Papua, and we will bring the two couple back across the border into Vanimo, and from then on, we can take it from Vanimo back to Wewak. We've managed to contact the lady's father by telephone. He is aware that they're in hospital.
Yeah, with Wednesday's news, we go for a break and be back with more on the other side of these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back to National MTV News. Turning overseas now, anger is mounting in their political deadlock in the U.S. over growing migrants' crisis that they have labeled state-sanctioned child abuse. And while President Trump clashes with Congress, thousands of children remain in limbo on America's Mexican border.
This is a tented center for migrant children in Texas. In just a month, more than 2,300 have been separated from their parents along the southwest border. Audio of their distress is stoking widespread anger.
It's evil, it's disgusting, and it's an embarrassment to the United States.
What began as an immigration debate is quickly becoming a battle over American values.
This is a moral catastrophe, and we're breaking up families, and it has to end now.
But this is just the beginning of Donald Trump's brand of American first foreign policy.
I don't want children taken away from parents. And when you prosecute the parents for coming in illegally, which should happen, you have to take the children away.
There is no US law requiring families be separated. Previously, undocumented immigrant families who crossed the border illegally were largely released and processed or detained together.
But under President Trump's zero-tolerance policy, which was released in April, those parents are now being detained and criminally prosecuted, and it's that process which triggers the removal of their children as the parents are sent to jail.
And in some cases, parents are being deported while their children remain in America.
child internment camps. What country is that? This is the United States of America.
People that come in violate the law, they endanger their children in the process, and frankly, they endanger all of our children.
The president is blaming Democrats and Congress for the broken system.
We want to end the border crisis by finally giving us the legal authorities and the resources to detain and remove illegal immigrant families altogether.
And tonight he took a rare trip to Capitol Hill amid the growing firestorm, but emerging without a clear path out of this mess. But there is one quick fix. The president could pick up the phone and end his own zero-tolerance policy tomorrow.
China has welcomed North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in Beijing just a week after his historic meeting with US President Donald Trump in Singapore.
Kim Jong-un is back on the world stage, bolder than ever, his motorcade speeding him through the streets for his surprise meeting with China's president. Greeted by an honor guard, President Xi lavished praise on Kim for his handling of the historic summit with President Trump. The president himself saying there is no longer a nuclear threat.
I have solved that problem. Now we're getting it memorialized and all, but that problem is largely solved.
Kim has already gotten one of his major demands, the Pentagon suspending military exercises with South Korea as promised by President Trump. The president even using the same words that North Koreans have used to describe those military exercises. Provocative.
I wanted to stop the war games. I thought they were very provocative.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo did say recently that it's hard to know whether a second summit between Trump and Kim will be necessary, but that he, Pompeo, may be returning to Pyongyang to continue discussions. But so far, there have been no real details from Kim about when and how denuclearization will happen.
If Prince Harry didn't already think Thomas Markle was the father-in-law from hell, he probably does now. Meghan's dad has just given an exclusive paid interview to a British TV station, and in it, he threw Harry under the bus.
When Thomas Markle appeared on Good Morning Britain, there would have been a collective jaw drop at Kensington Palace.
I have a new son-in-law. I'm very happy to have a new son-in-law.
But Prince Harry won't be happy with his new father-in-law, who's just made big bucks telling his story, including the warning he gave Harry after proposing to Meghan.
Harry asked for her hand over the phone, and I said, you're a gentleman. Promise me you'll never raise your hand against my daughter, and of course I give you my permission.
He went on to nearly ruin the wedding of the year.
She did cry, and they both said, take care of yourself, we're really worried about you.
He pulled out just days beforehand, citing heart palpitations as a result of intense media scrutiny.
They take all kinds of pictures of me making me look negative.
So he staged a paparazzi shoot to change his image, but word got out.
Well, obviously that all went to hell. And I feel bad about it. I apologize for it.
Ending up at emergency heart surgery and from his hospital bed, watched Prince Charles walk his daughter down the aisle.
I was jealous. I wish I had been there. I wish it had been me. The unfortunate thing for me now is that I'm a footnote in one of the greatest moments in history.
It meant Meghan's mum, Doria, was the sole family member at the wedding.
40, 50, 60 Markles came out of the woodwork, all asking for invitations to the wedding. Meghan probably had the good sense to invite none.
But Thomas Markle didn't have the good sense to keep private conversations with Harry private.
He said, give Donald Trump a chance. I sort of disagreed with that, but I still like Harry. You know, that was his politics. I have my politics.
It puts Prince Harry in a difficult position. The royals are not allowed to have political opinions, including on Brexit.
I think he was open to the experiment.
Thomas Markle hasn't met Harry in the flesh. He wants to, and there's someone else too.
I would love to meet the Queen.
After this latest stunt, that's a wish that's highly unlikely to be granted.
The royal family is yet to comment on the matter, but it's fair to say they'll be fuming, especially because Thomas walked away with a big pay packet.
Yeah, with National EMTV News, we go for another break. When we come back, some sporting updates in Trukai Sports. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. We begin with football, and preparations are underway for the Besta FA Cup Southern Leg tournament to kick off mid-next month. The Port Moresby Soccer Association will be hosting the tournament at the Bissini Soccer Grounds here in the nation's capital.
So we will welcome you, Governor.
Gearing up to host the southern leg of the Best FA Cup, Local Organizing Committee Chairman Leslie Babaga said Bissini is set to host the 4-day tournament next month. Teams expected to take part in the event include Port Moresby School Soccer Association, Higaturu Soccer Association, Western Soccer Association and host PMSA. Babaga said the expression of interest is open to all member association and associate members. Meanwhile, Madang will host the Mumasa leg from July 2nd to 7th, while Kimbe Soccer Association will host the NGI leg from July 25th to 29th, and Simbu will host the Highlands leg from 9th to 15th July. PNGFA competition manager Simon Koima said all interested teams should meet the requirement of nomination fee of 500 kina per team, including players' registration fee of 3 kina. He added the teams that fail to comply with the requirements, such as affiliation fees, nomination fees and proof of deposits of monies, will not be eligible to participate in the tournaments. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
To some World Cup updates now, and host Russia booked their place in the second round with a 3-1 win over Egypt early this morning that moved them to the top of Group A with 6 points from 2 matches. 3 goals in the space of 15 minutes early in the second half put the Russians firmly in command before Egypt's Mo Salah, who had a subdued game on his return from injury, struck from a penalty awarded after a video review.
If there was some good fortune to the opener, the Russian second was pure quality. After a tight first half, Russia's breakthrough came just 2 minutes after the restart. Egyptians' hopes for securing a spot in the second round of the World Cup was slashed after an own goal by Ahmed Fatih, whose outstretched leg turned the ball into his own net, followed closely by 2 other strikes within a 15-minute span of the second half. Russia's Denis Cheryshev made it 2-0 in the 59th minute, and a third goal followed just 2 minutes later by Artem Zhuba. Many fans criticized coach Hector Cooper's tactics as ultimately losing them the game. Egypt, whose final group game is against Saudi Arabia, have only the slimmest chances of staying in the tournament, although they will at least be hopeful of picking up a first win in what is their 3rd World Cup. Should Uruguay beat Saudi Arabia on Wednesday, it will ensure the South Americans and the Russians go through to the round of 16 with a game to spare. Helen Sea, EMTV's World Sports.
And Senegal became the first African team to win a match at the 2018 World Cup when they defeated Poland, helped by 2 shocking errors in the European side's defence. The Africans took full advantage of their opponents' errors to beat Poland 2-1 in the opening Group H game.
Leading thanks to a clumsy Thiago Chonek own goal in a poor first half, Bayern Young put the game beyond the disjointed Poles on the hour, seizing on goalkeeper Wojciech Szczęsny's decision to race out of his area to gather a long back pass. Young showed pace and control to beat the keeper and covering defender Jan Bednarek before slotting home in an empty net. Jago Skrihavia, author of the wayward back pass, made partial amends with a header 5 minutes from time, but it was too late. The result leaves Senegal, famous winners over defending champions France in the opening match of their last World Cup appearance in 2002, level with Japan in this year's World Cup, finally giving Africa something to cheer about at the World Cup as the group favourites fail to fire. Helen Sea, EMTV's World Sports.
And we'll continue with more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To Rugby League now, the PNG Kumul's team has been dealt another blow after Alex Vera has been suspended by the Queensland Rugby League. Vera was suspended for 2 matches after he was cited for a biting charge in the Hunters and Jets match last week.
Alex Vera was named to start at fullback in this weekend's Pacific Test match. Unfortunately, this will not happen, and coach Michael Marum will now need to push Justin Olam to fullback. With Olam at fullback, Junior Rao takes his place on the left wing, with Richard Pandya named to start on the right. Rao will make his debut as Kumul number 285. Thompson Tete and Willie Minoga will maintain their positions in the centres, while Young, Lachlan Lamb and Watson Boaz will control the halves. Stanton Albert, Luke Page and veteran Kumul Rod Griffin will lead the forward pack, with captain James Seguiaro to start at hooker. Canterbury Bulldogs Reece Martin and Nixon Put will take their place in the second row. Kurt Baptiste is sure to make an impact as he comes off the bench. Enoch Maki, Asep Boaz and Redley Brower will also come off the bench at this weekend's match. Brower will make his debut off the bench as Kumul number 286. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
The weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow in the southern region, mostly fine for Port Moresby. A few showers expected in Daru. Kerema, Alota and Popondetta can expect a shower or two over the next 24 hours.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And that has been the news, sport and weather for today, Wednesday the 20th of June 2018. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, pleasant viewing. Good night.